and we all deserve. And then, did he steal this line from that movie with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson? We can't handle the truth, is apparently what the administration has been saying to us. We can't handle it. Opposing, positions, biases, anything that would undermine the source credibility. You gotta reference those things. If it's not in the rubric, then you don't get points for that section, and you lose.
But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier, called The Fake News Dossier.
Yeah, it's fake.
And the whole thing was a fake. They could put things in the file that are fake, but those files were run by bad, sick people.
The FBI Deputy Director, Dan Bongino, you know who he is, dropped this post on X that is capturing a ton of attention. We don't see numbers like this often. 18.7 million views from a government official, which is a big one. So he posted this. Of course, we've seen a lot of interesting behavior from Dan Bongino, tremendous podcaster. We had a lot of love and support for him during that season of his life, and now he's moved on into the government. But he was also somebody with a lot of background as a Secret Service agent, protecting Obama and others. And so he's had a long, line of experience in these issues. And so people look to him with credibility. They look to him as guidance for what the heck is going on, as a trusted voice. And so he posted this now from inside the FBI. During my tenure here as Deputy Director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director, Cash, and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us, but what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementions has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. Can you tell us? We're going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get the answers we all deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at truth. Not my truth or your truth, but the truth. God bless America and all those who defend her. Respectfully, Dan. All right, so my instinct is to want to support our team and to support guys who are on our side and who are working hard, and we appreciate, and I've said this before, all of the good work of the FBI, and they come out and there have been some recent drops and announcements about the 19 Operation Grayskull, all the things. Cash made the video about it. Well, we looked that up, and most of that activity was completed in Christopher Wray's administration. Most of the indictments, most of the charges, Kash Patel came out. There was one recent sentencing and a new case, and then Kash came out and made the whole video about it. 19 people arrested, Operation Grayskull. Like, this is a new FBI. Not really. It was an old FBI. You can look at their own press release. A lot of the sentencing and convictions are from 2022, 2023, and all the things. So then now the question is, well, why didn't Christopher Wray come out and make a video like that? Kash kind of feels like the third string quarterback is coming in and declaring victory over something else that somebody else achieved in a way. We're happy. It's same FBI, same people, probably same agents on there. But Kash made a video to come out and talk about child predators and all of that because what they're trying to do is create a diversionary story and propagandize us away from what's actually happening. So we're happy that the PDF files are getting arrested. Don't get me wrong at all. Extremely thrilled about that. Good news. Don't want them on the streets at all. But I want an honest FBI, and I don't want an FBI that writes dramatic posts like this and then publishes them and then really leaves us with zero hope at all, which is extremely frustrating for somebody like Dan, who we put into a position of trust. I mean, he's telling us that they may not be able to do anything about it. So they're going to investigate it. They're going to work hard. And, well, I can't predict where it's going to land. And I don't know what the hell's going to happen here, but I'm so shocked to the core. I am never going to be the same after what I've learned. I can't tell you about any of it. We're working hard, going through the books, doing things by the numbers, which they've already told us they were doing for, months ago. We're now at 6 months, and he's going to come out and post this very dramatic post. And I was thinking to myself, what if Christopher Wray posted this? Or what if Andy McCabe posted this in the context of Trump or something like that? I would make so much fun of them. I think Dan Bongino would make fun of them for a ridiculous statement like this that offers no information, that is basically just a big paragraph that feels like platitudes and bloviations and really all synthesized into one thing. Trust me, bro, is all it is. And we're going, all right, man, we've been doing that for a long time. And if Andy McCabe posted this and said, Trump, I've never seen anything like that, I'd be like, put your evidence up, moron. Give me some facts. Give me some evidence before I sit here and listen to your stupid platitudes. It's a post that is really, I think, engineered for like an audience of people who just want to hear something to make them feel good, kind of a thing. And that's not what we want. I don't want to hear that the FBI is just investigating things and looking through all this stuff working really hard, and we all deserve. And then, did he steal this line from that movie with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson? We can't handle the truth is apparently what the administration has been saying to us. We can't handle it. So, and they don't even tell us anything. It's like, what are you talking about, Dan? And when he does repost this, and he then posted this from Just the News. So people are going, what the hell are you talking about? Like, in other words, you're in there, Cash is in there. You guys are going to work your butts off. We're not going to get any Epstein files. And according to your own statements, you don't know where it's going to land. So we might continue to be governed by a cabal of pedophiles. Is that what you're saying? And there's nothing you can do about it? And our president is also telling us it's a hoax and forget about it. Is that what you're talking about? Is it the Comey stuff? Is it the Obama stuff? Because we've known a lot about that for a long time. So why is that changing you to your core? But he's reposting his I'll never be the same, kind of drama story. Okay, Dan, hopefully you're okay. But then he gets Just the News, and Just the News comes out and says, here's what Dan is talking about. Now, the Obama era intelligence community assessment on Russia was a lie. They said in the document that the Kremlin historically preferred Republican candidates, something that the actual record doesn't show. And a key architect of that assessment has made the questionable contention, saying the whole thing was unprecedented. Now, these two claims, writes Just the News, seem to conflict with lengthy Kremlin records of aggressive measures targeting numerous U.S. elections over the decades. So all of that is completely understandable. But what you can see is the KGB seemingly backed Democrats for years. All the way back in 1964, they supported LBJ over Barry Goldwater from Arizona. Even before Reagan, the KGB and others were around. In the 1960s, they were around, right? The Institute said the memo, the KGB. And so it's a big article about how much involvement they've had. And it goes on forever, like 1976, you can see the Russians, 1976, 1984, they made efforts, 2008, 2012, they made efforts. It's always the thing, but they just picked this one out and they tried to emphasize it and turn it into a propaganda operation this time. Meddling, like it's an engineered word where they just pulled it out and they said, okay, all the media lunatics will run with it, and they did, and the intelligence agencies will juice it up to make it more salivating for public consumption, and they did all that. Now, this is the article that, Dan Bongino is posting, and a lot of people have been screaming about Russia forever. Remember, Romney was even doing that. Obama was making fun of Romney. So a wild article. But is that what Dan is upset about? Is that what he's shocked to the core about? Is that what's never going to make him be the same ever again? Is the fact that Obama's corrupt or something? So again, it's frustrating from our perspective. Here is what the document is also referencing. So this might be what Dan Bongino is referencing. But as you can see here, this is the official report that was fraudulent, created by Comey, Brennan, Obama, who ordered it. This was generated by the CIA. Tulsi Gabbard declassified this, and we've seen a lot of the reactions to this, but we haven't taken a look, at least recently, at this document that was released, which is the actual report. Okay, so this is what they engineered, and you can see even in the report, now declassified, it says, this report, this was the fake one that came out, and you can see it was published on January 5th, 2017. Okay, Trump already won, coming in, now they're freaked out that he's going to come in and find out everything, right? Like they were spying on his campaign, they were creating the Steele dossier, all these things. So they needed to double down on the coup and the hoax, and they were trying to then say that the Russians meddled to the point that they interfered in it and that Trump's election was invalid, so they could take and maintain control of the country. But Obama made a request. Now, Obama's going to come out and say that, well, actually, there's no real reason why I can be prosecuted because all I was doing was just asking for an assessment, and I had no idea that, it was going to be this, and I'm just acting on good faith. So there was no malicious intent. There was no guilty mindset, no intentional fraud or anything like that, is what he would say. And of course, we can always impeach him on that and say, actually, that doesn't look like it was a political decision. It looks like it was an abuse of office. Congress has found that. Now your immunity is evaporated. Just like the correct process was with President Trump. They tried to impeach him. They didn't, and they prosecuted him anyways. That's what the Constitution says. You can read the impeachment judgment clause in there, and it says after impeachment, it doesn't say that specifically, but you can interpret it such that after the impeachment, your immunity evaporates because now you are ensuring that it's not political anymore because you've got 2/3 of both of the Senate voting to convict. So it's not political. It crosses political limitations. Both parties agree you gotta go. Then the political immunity evaporates and now criminal charges are possible. So the president requested this, and Obama knew. He got all of the reports before that came in. Russians are, poking around. They're needling all the things. But then he wanted the Steele dossier to be inserted into that, to turn it into something that it isn't, and he ordered it, and he did it on that day. Obama's in trouble. The main body of the report was drafted by the FBI, Comey, CIA, Brennan, and the NSA NSA, and others, and draws on intelligence information collected amongst those three agencies, all fake. It covers Moscow's use of cyber tools and media campaigns and more. And this report is a downgraded version of a more sensitive assessment that has been provided to the president and House and Senate leadership and the intelligence oversight committees and leadership. Okay, so like a handful of people, not the full intelligence committee, just a handful of them. A president, and it's provided to recipients approved by Obama. So Obama would say only these people can get it. Don't give it to the bad people. A fake report. The conclusions in this document are all reflected in the more sensitive assessment, but this document does not include the full supporting information or any other things. And so this is what they created. And multiple sources, understanding Russia, some of our judgments are drawn from behavior. And we've read through the reactions to this that show that as a matter of statecraft or spycraft, this is a terrible report. Like you get a D- on this, maybe an F, you'd fail. The rubric says you have to include these sections in any one of these publications. Opposing, positions, biases, anything that would undermine the source credibility. You got to reference those things. If it's not in the rubric, then you don't get points for that section and you lose. You go down a whole letter grade if you forget it and a whole nother letter grade. And these people should be in prison because that's how bad this report was. Now we assess, here you go, that Putin ordered an influence campaign aimed at the election. Russia's goals were to undermine faith, to denigrate Hillary, which they didn't. There's evidence that they actually were holding back on Hillary because they had a lot more juice on her and they thought she was going to win. So they were just going to let her win and then smash her on the other end and harm her electability and potential presidency. We further assess Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump. Fake and fraud. We have high confidence in these judgments. Nope, that's also fraudulent. That's a term of art. You got to have multiple sources for that. They didn't. They had one crap source and the Steele dossier. We also assess that Putin aspired to help Trump's election chances when possible by discrediting Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him. We saw the multiple reports on this. It's just made up. Their sourcing is terrible. What ended up happening was John Brennan went out, found some old bad intelligence, regurgitated that out of his garbage, and then tried to pass that off as legitimate intelligence. Here's another one. Russian TV is debating things. Oh my gosh. Here's some person. This is some person stepping over the White House. This is all the Russian influence. And look at all of these media campaigns, Facebook, all the things. And they said that the Kremlin spends $190 million a year for their media. And some of that media comes into the United States. So this was the report. These are emails and all of it's being declassified now thanks to Tulsi Gabbard. And they are caught. We know it was fake. So Dan Bongino, don't know if that's exactly what he's talking about. Let's see if he's posted anything today. That's what he referenced from Just the News in response to his life-changing revelations. We'll see. So it could be that. We don't know exactly what it is, but Trump was asked about Epstein. Trump was asked about the latest developments with Obama. And here is what the president said on his trip overseas.
Or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name is in the files?
I haven't been overly interested in it. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier, called the Fake News Dossier.
Yeah, it's fake.
And the whole thing was a fake. They can put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and that he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about her. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're doing. But she was the border czar. Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris. But nobody knew her last name. So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon. It was amazing. They predicted she would have a 6-week honeymoon, and she did. And then she got slaughtered. But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election.
Do you feel that...
that drawing, I heard you say something the other day, that the drawing that was the subject of the Wall Street Journal report.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person.
Do you think it was fraudulent?
I don't do drawings. Sometimes people say, would you draw a building and I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof, for a charity. So I'm not a a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women, that I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women. And also, you know, Epstein was always a very controversial guy. I was at a very high position, you know, pretty much all my life, in all fairness. I've been doing this for a long time. I had the top show on television. I had the #1 bestsellers. I had everything, right? And I was a very successful business guy. He was a very controversial. Who would do a controversial drawing? Now, with that being said, they say there were many letters done by many people, and many big people, you know, big successful people. But I just don't, when you talk about files, I just keep going back, and other people too. Even the enemy says this thing is not correct, because if we had it, we would have used it on the guy. It's a bad issue. They say it's a good issue for Trump. You know that my poll numbers are up 4.5 points since this ridiculous Epstein stuff? My poll numbers have gone up 4.5 points because people don't buy it. And he's gone, and we want to focus on trade deals. I want to focus on the deal we just made with the European Union, which is the biggest trade deal in history. It's the biggest deal, I think, in history, not just trade deal. So if they would have had something, they would have used it.
And people keep running stories at the time you threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. Can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach with him?
That's such old history, very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help, and I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again, and I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth. And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. One of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
All right, so I think there was some sarcasm there on the privileged comment, but that's the president, again, calling it a hoax, saying that the FBI was in charge of it and in charge of the files for quite a while, and so was his FBI for quite some time. But of course, even his FBI was very concerning and troubling. And we got a lot of questions from the FBI about January 6th, how many undercover informants were there, how many Homeland Security people was the FBI facilitating with on January 6th, where's all of the pipe bomb data that they said was corrupted and lied to us about, what happened to all the whistleblowers who came out and got abused by the FBI, why have they not been hired back, and the list goes on and on. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. We'll see if Dan has any other updates for us soon, but we hope that there is some meat behind these words, because he is the FBI deputy director now. He's in this position to deliver results, not posts, and we're hopeful that we get them soon.